Civilization is an important concept in modern culture. Group after group claims lineage from a specific older culture, thus claiming to be a civilization unto itself. Often, modern groups claim lineage from older civilizations, and those older civilizations have their own appropriate mythical lineage. While what we refer to in the past tense as civilizations are predominantly pre-modern world empires, today civilization is a label appropriated by a specific institution. The institution which claims civilizational lineage today is the nation-state. These nation-states are the manifold national, sovereign governments organized into a global hierarchy of power known as international relations. If any significant institutional body in the world were to try to matter-of-factly deny the civilizational status and lineage of any nation-state, that nation-state would undoubtedly quickly pipe up to assert such a civilizational identity. So, what is a nation-state? What is a nation? Or a state, for that matter? A state is an institution. It claims legitimate territorial rights or sovereignty, increases its central power over time against that of local authorities, and regulates the use of violence and weapons within its purview. In the modern world, the state has been transformed. One of the ways in which it was transformed was through nationalism. A nation is a concept which can't be definitively identified with social reality. It is completely free-floating. Its only real content is as an ideological identity. In the 19th century, colonial states in Europe developed nationalism to legitimate themselves to the lower strata and working class, and in so doing, crafted a pan-European identity which excluded the rest of the world, much of which the colonial states were in political control of. In the 20th century, there took place the disintegration of the colonial order and a protracted process of independence for the formerly colonized. In this process, the nationalist movements against colonialism asserted a right of self-determination for their nations, and independent states were created. National movements went back to the 19th century and always sought the overthrow of the power of national majorities over national minorities. Although the national movements and the socialist movement initially competed, they osmosized in the 20th century. What became known as Leninism became the joint phenomena of communist-controlled states and newly independent states carrying out development and upholding the right of self-determination for nations. The problem was that in this same time frame, America had become the dominant state in the world. In the 19th century, states had allowed the franchise and created welfare programs to minimize political dissent. After World War II, the U.S. applied this framework on a world scale, extending to the Third World the right of self-determination and the right to develop, the same exact political program of Leninism and national liberation. Thus, the struggle for, in Lenin's terms, the right of nations to self-determination became a mechanism of U.S. world power. In the 19th century, both the dominant tendencies of the socialist movement, as well as national movements by definition, adopted the two-step strategy: take state power and use it to change society. However, others in the socialist movement rejected this strategy. They were called anarchists. The anarchists argued that the state was elitist and thus could not be a tool in the struggle for equality and democracy. Instead, they insisted on spontaneous cultural shift as the strategy for changing society. The anarchists lost the debate in the socialist movement because the state was and still is the central political mechanism of modern society. The failure of the two-step strategy in the era of U.S. hegemony and the failure of the U.S.'s development and nationalist hegemonic ideology are now opening a new window for anarchism. The problem with the U.S.'s Wilsonian ideology and practice was that the technocratic liberalism of the 19th century didn't extend to the Third World. The technocratic liberal welfare state was based on the political subjugation and thus economic exploitation of the Third World. That same Third World was now experiencing development and the right of self-determination, and it had no Third World for itself to subjugate. As a result, the Wilsonian era of Pax Americana imploded, and with it began an era of social destabilization leading to disillusion with the institutions of the state itself. As the era of polarization and destabilization continues, the state's status as an effective political instrument will crack and eventually crumble. This will invite the possibility for horizontal social change that does not rely on the power of the state, the kind anarchists have advocated all along. It, however, will be up to us to build this new movement, or perhaps more properly, renewed anarchism. That was a request by someone who has financially supported my work. You get the right to request content such as videos or blog posts if you are a $10 a month patron on the Patreon, or you make a one-time donation to PayPal of $20 or over. So if you want to request content, I definitely encourage you to do that. And even if you can't donate that much, I would appreciate any amount of support you want to give me if you like this content and want to see it keep being made. Yeah, with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. See ya.